Hey humans, it's Hannah. Welcome back to the second channel. This is the sister channel to Hannah the Horrible, and welcome back to our day 5 of 7 days of Halloween, our spooktacular, whatever we want to call it. We have lots of names for it now. Please enjoy the pumpkin back here. That is a real pumpkin, and please enjoy that every video it gets more and more chewed up. Because the rats, this is the rats' playroom too. So when they're out, they love munching on the pumpkin. They like taking little chunks out of it and chewing on it, and it's adorable. It's safe for them, by the way. They can have raw pumpkin, both the guts and the flesh. So that's really fun for me. I don't know why, but I think that's cute. It gives it character. Okay, without further ado, let's get into the stories for today. So this first one starts, "Hi Hannah, I'd like to remain anonymous. I love your channel so much. I've been watching you for a long time, and I'm also living in Washington. Oh, fun. I love that for us. I just wanted to say how much I appreciate your content and the effort you put into it. Is apparent. You deserve all the love." Thank you. Anyways, I have a ghost story, I guess. It was something weird that happened to me that I can't explain. I'm going to be using different names in this story just to keep everything anonymous. Thank you. I appreciate that. I'm a lot like you in the sense that I'm very skeptical of ghosts, and when this happened, I simply was at a loss of explanation. I'm curious to hear your thoughts. I worked at a retirement home for 2 years as a server. We had a restaurant-style dining room, and that's where I worked. Meals lasted a couple hours, and I got to know residents very well. I really enjoyed getting to know them all. I worked a lot in an assisted living building. Here, many of the residents suffered from dementia, and so things were interesting. One of my favorite residents, who I'm going to call Sammy, sadly passed away towards the end of my time working at the retirement home. She was a real character, and having her pass was sad for everyone. About a month later, a new resident from a completely different facility moved into Sammy's old room. I'm going to call this new resident Anne. Anne suffered from dementia, and it was to the point where she couldn't hold good conversation, and she had very bad short-term memory. It's so hard. Dementia is like literally nature's biggest, I don't even know what to call it, biggest curse, prank sounds way too lighthearted for something as serious as dementia, but like dementia, I mean, everybody you know has probably been affected by dementia, either them or their loved ones or something, but it just feels like it cannot be real. You know what I mean? And it's just terrible. I just resonate with this a little bit because my grandma she was in the nursing home for many years before she passed away, and she also suffered from pretty bad dementia, and it was hard because she was embarrassed that she couldn't remember anything, so she would pretend like she knew you, even though she had no idea who we were. It was just devastating, so heartbreaking. Anyway, because of the state of her dementia, nurses thought that it was best if she had meals in her room to avoid unnecessary stress for her. So me and whatever coworker I was working with that night would box Annie's dinner up and dessert and bring it to her. One night, my coworker and I were doing deliveries as usual. We got to Anne's room, and the second we stepped foot inside, the energy was different. Anne wasn't in her usual spot in her bed. Instead, she was very lively. Walking around, her TV was on, and she was talking to us like nothing. This was very odd for her because usually she couldn't hold a normal conversation, but she was very engaged and aware. We gave her her dinner and dessert. That's good though, right? Doesn't dementia kind of come in and out a lot too, depending on what stage you're at? I'm not a doctor or a nurse or anything, so I don't know that much about dementia, but can't people have like better days and worse days? Before she left, she stopped us and asked, "Oh, I'm sorry, but you forgot the second dessert." My coworker and I looked at each other confused and asked, "What do you mean?" Anne said, "My friend asked for a dessert." I asked, "Who's your friend?" Casually, Anne pointed to seemingly nothing behind her in the room before saying, "My friend Sammy." My coworker and I were frozen. The air fell off and we left another dessert, and Anne thanked us. The next day, Anne passed away. Oh my, that was her last dessert, Anne. Oh my God. Rest in peace, Anne and Sammy. That's so sad. This might seem like a coincidence, but I just can't understand how no one told Anne who lived in the room before her. Anne didn't live in our retirement home before. She came from a completely different facility. While I can see how people might think she knew someone with Sammy's same name, but trust when I say Sammy's real name is very uncommon. However, I guess that it's a possibility. What I can't explain is the way I felt in her room that day and the fact that she passed passed away the next day. It's also crazy to me. I still question it to this day, and it's been almost a year since it happened. Anyway, I hope this makes it to you, and if you read this far, I appreciate it. Much love from Anonymous. Thank you, Anonymous. Oh my gosh. Listen, in my head, Sammy was like, Anne, I've got some fun stuff over here that we could do together. Those ladies clicked the second Anne moved into her room, and Sammy was like, oh, this bitch is gonna be my friend. And she was like, come over here. It's fun over here. And Anne was like, bet, I'm ready. And she passed away to go be with Sammy so they can be best friends in the afterlife. And Sammy and Anne are living their best life, eating as much dessert as they want wherever they are, and gossiping about all the things, all the other old people that are up wherever they are with them. That's what happened in my head. My other thought was like, if this was somebody without dementia, like maybe they learned the name, like maybe they found something in the room with the old person's name on it. Not the old person, the past person, the person before her's name on it. And so maybe my thought was like, maybe it was Anne's way to get extra dessert, because Anne was going to be like, oh, I'm going to pretend like there's a ghost in here with me, even though I know the name of the last person that was in here, so that they'll give me extra dessert. That's where my head went. But I highly doubt that, because somebody with dementia probably wouldn't be able to put, again, I don't know much about dementia, mind you, so maybe it's possible. But I would think that somebody with dementia so bad that they only have a couple good days every now and then wouldn't be able to think through things that far ahead and stuff like that. And often when you're in a nursing home and you're that ill, you don't have a huge appetite anyway. But again, no expert here. So thank you so much for your story, Anonymous. Okay, story number 2. Hi, Hannah. You can call me Crow. I've been subscribed to your channel for a while now, and I appreciate how grounded and down to earth you seem. I like that you're a skeptic without being completely dismissive of the possibilities, because I'm the same way. I've experienced a few strange and or scary moments in my life, paranormal and otherwise, but I tend to shrug things off, rationalize things away, or just generally not worry about them. For my own sanity, sometimes this leads to me completely forgetting they happened unless something caused me to remember. Recently, I was watching a video about Bigfoot encounters, the only cryptid I believe exists, to be honest, but I digress, and they used the phrase bluff charge, saying that it was a common occurrence for Bigfoot researchers. I had never heard this term before, associated with animals or otherwise, which is strange because I have seen a ton of animal documentaries in my life. Anyway, the term triggered a memory because it exactly described an experience I had, and I've been telling this story to anyone who will listen ever since. I would assume a bluff charge is like, I know that grizzly bears are sometimes known to do that, and people get really preemptively scared of bears because sometimes they will pretend like they're going to charge at you, like they'll get up on their hind legs and they'll start to run towards you, but then they don't because they're not actually planning on attacking you. They're just trying to get you out of their space. They're just trying to get you scared so that you'll go away, like they're not actually going to come eat you. But let me look it up and make sure. A bluff charge is when a bear charges at a person or another bear, but then stops short and changes directions. I was right. I feel so smart, especially because I didn't know the word sepia was a color the other day. So this makes me feel better. Bluff charges are a way for bears to intimidate or scare someone and are more common than actual attacks. Yeah. Okay, back to the story here. I've included any details I thought might be relevant, but I've been thinking about this a lot lately and doing research and trying to connect the dots. So sorry if I was getting a little rambly at times. Totally fine. We love rambles here. You guys all know I love to rant. When I was a teenager, over 15 years ago, a friend and I were in a field bordered by woods late at night / early in the morning. The woods were just a small patch, really, surrounded on all sides by neighborhoods, but I always found the woods strange. Not creepy or scary, just kind of odd. Whenever I went into them, they seemed so much bigger than they could have been, and it was always really quiet. There was what I called a washer graveyard in the woods, far away from any of the houses, where a bunch of old washers and dryers and other appliances of varying ages were scattered around in an almost Stonehenge-like configuration. I knew how to get to it as I'd gone many times, and it always took nearly an hour to walk there. Despite the paths I made and how apparently small the woods seemed to be, I never saw anyone else going into the woods, inside the woods, or any other signs of people besides the washer graveyard. There was a path along the side of the field skirting the woods that led to the neighborhood on the other side of them. Anyway, my friend and I were sitting in the field talking about strange things as weird teenage girls tend to do. We had these characters we would both write about, and on occasion we pretended they were real and would make up some more stories about them. I was telling her a story about how mine was hiding in the woods and was going to come and see us soon. And I stood up and raised my voice and shouted, "Hey, you can come out now. Come over here." She laughed, but a second later we heard crashing through the woods coming towards us. It sounded like something very big. I stopped right at the edge of the field, just inside the woods, and didn't come out. My friend was startled and scared and jumped up. I felt really uneasy and unsettled too, but I was always the brave one, no matter what friend I was with, always the protector, and I didn't want her to be scared. So I held my ground, stepping in front of her slightly. I just laughed and pretended it was my friend coming to see us, like I said he would, trying to put her at ease, even though we both knew good and well that he was imaginary. My friend was scared though, and she wanted to go back to my house and didn't understand why I was laughing and playing it cool when there was clearly something big right inside the woods, no doubt watching us. I don't really know why I was either, other than trying to ease her mind and the vague feeling that we shouldn't panic. We slowly walked out of a field and she didn't want to go... We slowly walked out of the field and she didn't want to go back to the woods anymore after that. I still went back often and even looked around in the area the thing had apparently stopped at, but never saw anything that I considered out of the ordinary at the time. A few years later, the city tore down those woods and bulldozed the area and the field. Ugh, hate that. All of us in the neighborhood assumed it was because everything was going to be built there, like a new apartment block or something, but nothing ever was. Even now, over a decade later, the area remains empty. I was upset because I spent a lot of time in the woods and always took my dogs to run off leash in the field. I could see the woods and field from my house and watch the demolition progress. I never saw them uncover the washer graveyard, and when they were done clearing the area, it seemed totally impossible how small it actually was. I remember walking forever to get through to the other side, but walking across the entire length once it was cleared took only a couple minutes at most. Maybe it's magic woods, magic forest. I never figured out what we heard, and I never experienced anything like that again. I didn't think much of it at the time and mostly forgot about it, but looking back on it years later, I feel like it was definitely a strange encounter, something I couldn't explain. I've wanted to contact the girl who experienced it with me to see if she remembers, if anything, but we haven't been friends in years. We're just Facebook friends, and we lead very different lives now, and I feel it would be weird to contact her out of the blue to ask her about a weird night from over 15 years ago. I lived in that area for years and have since moved to a different part of town. I didn't realize until recently that on the other side of the neighborhood and across the highway was a massive nature preserve filled with miles of unbroken wilderness. I found this out by checking out Google Earth and turning it back a few years after the memory of the incident was jogged. The forest and the field were just as small from satellite view as they seemed once the area had been bulldozed. But I noticed some smaller patches of woods around the neighborhood between mine and the highway, all of which have since been removed as well, according to recent satellite pictures. I don't know what the thing in the woods was. I'm not saying it was a Sasquatch. It could have easily been some other kind of large animal, I suppose. Or, I don't know, anything else, I guess. It was just a Bigfoot video that made me remember the incident, so I automatically associated the memory with Bigfoot. Thanks for reading and for potentially including this story in a video. I know it's not as spooky or strange as some of the other ones you've read, but it sure is perplexing to me even all these years later. Thank you, Crow. That's so interesting. I think that's the thing, is it could have been any animal, and I would have been really grateful that it didn't show itself. I don't want to see an animal that big if it knows where I am. But it is interesting that you were able to stay so calm, and maybe those woods are magic, because maybe that's why when you were in them, they would go on forever, and then once they were bulldozed and destroyed, because humans have to destroy everything, maybe they lost their magic. All I can say is that I hope that whatever the creature was, whether it was Bigfoot, whether it was a bear, whether it was a mountain lion, coyote, maybe a really, really loud rabbit, I don't know, whatever it was, I hope that it was able to make it to another set of woods. I hope that it didn't die in the bulldozing and stuff because humans decided like, we're just gonna, let's just take all of these animals' homes. It's fine. So that's what pisses me off the most. But interesting encounter. And one of those things, I love memories like that too, that like bring you back to a time. So anyway, okay, this is story number 3 for today. Hi, Hannah. I recently found your videos and I'm currently binge watching all of them. I love your content. I've always believed in ghosts and I have had a few experiences, but this recent one still brings tears to my eyes. I've grown up with my grandparents in an old house. All my life, I have heard noises coming from the attic, footsteps in the house, motion sensors activating when there was no one there, but never experienced anything worse than that, until recently when I had friends over. We sat in the living room talking and catching up. They left a few minutes after midnight and I had this weird feeling of dread and paranoia, the sensation you get when you feel like you're being watched, as I turned off all the lights and went to bed. Fast forward the next morning, my grandma is looking at the security camera footage, hands me her phone and says, "Were you still up at 4:20? And remembering that feeling from the night before, that was really all it took for me to panic. I look at the footage anyway, and at first nothing happens. I'm about to hand my grandma her phone back, chalking it up to the camera being activated by a cat outside. Then suddenly the most monstrous growling can be heard in the living room." Pausing because the lawnmower decided to stop right outside my window. I'm not lying when I say it sounded like something straight from hell. Then the mosquito net on our door swings open quite forcefully, and to my horror, the door opens and somebody walks out into the terrace. I'm already crying at this point, scared to death, immediately thinking, oh my God, it's worse than a ghost. Somebody broke into our house. That's when I realized it's not an intruder. These are my friends leaving our house. For the first time, I look at the timestamp. My grandma read the time wrong. It wasn't 4:20, it was 4 minutes and 20 seconds, and the camera activated as my friends left. One of those cameras that activate for movement, I assume. The growling sound was just a snippet of our conversation that sounded so demonic because our security camera has the worst audio quality. The relief I felt. This story makes me laugh so hard. I tear up every time. I hope you enjoyed the little twist. Lots of love from Germany, and that was from Alexandra. Thank you, Alexandra. That's funny. I do love putting in a couple logical explanation stories here because I love a good logical explanation story every now and then. Sometimes we need to think about like maybe something is very mundane, but we just can't figure out why. And so we attribute paranormal stuff to sometimes situations that if you just think of more possibilities, there's a logical explanation. So I love that. Okay, this is story 4, resubmitted because I forgot to add scary story in the subject line. Thank you. I appreciate that. Remember, I know you sent this before I said that in the last video, but the subject line doesn't actually matter in terms of if I'll get this story or not. It just helps it put it into the right folder so that my inbox stays organized and I don't get overwhelmed and have a mentee bee. But it's not that I won't get it. If you send it to the wrong folder, I'll just see it in the regular inbox and I'll move it to scary story inbox. So no big deal either way. Okay. Hi, Hannah. I love your videos. As someone with Crohn's disease who is currently experiencing an active flare-up, I deeply appreciate your efforts to raise awareness and educate others about this condition. Oh, girl, I feel for you so bad. I hope by the time I'm reading this, I don't know when you sent this, I really hope that your flare-up has calmed down and that you are back in remission or at least in a good place. I am so sorry. I can actually say I understand how you feel. Whew, okay. A little backstory. Since childhood, I've had various paranormal experiences, from hearing footsteps in my childhood bedroom to disembodied voices when no one else is around. I've also encountered surprisingly accurate responses on spirit boxes, and one time saw a shadow figure peeking around the corner in the darkness of my basement. These experiences have made me think I'm more sensitive to energies and the supernatural. My video clips. The attached videos capture one of my more recent inexplicable experiences. I'll provide a detailed breakdown of the footage to help you better understand what's occurring. So we're going to read the rest of the story first before we look at the footage. My cat Oddball suffers from a chronic sinusitis. I'm sitting on the couch clearing his nose with a tissue. My boyfriend James is sitting in the chair next to me playing a video game, while Biddy, our tuxedo cat, is on the floor in front of the couch staring at the front door. You hear me saying, "There we go," as I finally managed to remove a stubborn booger from Odd's nose. Poor kitty. I bet, sorry, this is gross, but I bet your cat loves it when you pick boogers out of his nose, doesn't he? He probably sits there on the couch with you like, yeah, mom, do it. Afterwards, a man's voice unexpectedly says, "Say pop goes the weasel." In the angle facing the door, Biddy can be seen fleeing from the living room, seemingly startled by something he sees. I didn't hear the voice myself, but James did, so you can hear him say, "What was that voice?" right after. I'm genuinely confused because I didn't hear anything. When we reviewed the footage, the voice was incredibly unsettling and so clear. Unfortunately, these cameras save in weird time increments, so the angle looking with the door in it cut off at the very beginning of the voice. A few things to note about the footage. The TV, laptop, and computer have no videos playing. The cameras from the brand Casa were set up with a secure Wi-Fi connection, making them impossible to hack. Even if someone could hack into them, the cameras make a distinctive beep before you can speak, which didn't happen before the voice. It's strange that Biddy was initially looking towards the direction of the voice and then ran away in fear right afterwards. The windows were closed and the voice sounded to be coming from inside the living room. Please let me know what you think or what you hear. If you have the capability to slow down or analyze the audio, please give it a try. Thank you. And that is from Alyssa Rose. Thank you, Alyssa Rose. Okay, let me play the clips first. There's two different angles of the same clip, so I'm going to have Taylor insert them here and play both of them twice, and then people can watch them however much they want if they need to.
Oh, there we go.
What was that?
Oh, there we go.
What was that? What was that? Did you hear that? Who was talking?
What?
Someone was talking. What was that? Did you hear that? Who was talking?
What?
Someone was talking.
I watched both of your clips quite a few times trying to like decipher it because her boyfriend is in the gaming chair and it kind of looks like he's talking. Like it almost looks like maybe it's him saying it and then all of a sudden saying like, what was that? But it took me a few times to watch the clip to realize he's eating a snack. And so that's why his mouth is moving up and down. And it is kind of a little bit of grainy footage. So it's kind of hard to tell. But I think that's why it kind of looks like he says it, because he definitely doesn't. And you're right. The cat does look really freaked out. So after debunking the fact that it was your boyfriend, that was my other thought, was where you hacked. And then I was like, well, the Wi-Fi connection, even if it's a secure Wi-Fi connection, I think you could still get hacked on a secure Wi-Fi connection. I'm fairly confident you can, because that's why we all block our cameras on our laptops, right? And if you're not doing that, you should be. But isn't that why we have the little covers and like tape, why we put tape over our cameras and stuff like that? So that in case somebody hacked into our computer, they couldn't see us. Oh my God. No, the universe does not want me to film this morning. Winnie's barking, my phone's ringing, the freaking lawnmower outside. Ever feel like the circumstances just working against you? Holy crap. However, to me, there has to be a logical explanation to this one, right? Because why would a ghost just say, "Pop goes the weasel"? That makes no sense, right? Like, not that ghosts have to make sense, but I just feel like there has to be some way that happened. I'm not sure. I watched the video quite a few times and couldn't figure it out myself. If people have ideas, please leave them in the comment for Alyssa Rose, because I'm sure Alyssa Rose and her boyfriend would love to hear any plausible explanations, because this probably still haunts them to this day. Let's be real. So, okay. Thank you so much, Alyssa Rose. Be really curious to read your comments on that one, because help them out here. There's gotta be a good reason. So, okay. This is story 5. This is our last story for today. Hi, Hannah. Love your content and your new channel. I had sent kind of a scary but kind of wholesome story a couple months ago, but just today I remembered a genuinely scary story one from my childhood. I was around 9 or 10 years old, and my family took a trip to a family friend's cabin in the New Hampshire woods. I loved going to this cabin. It was fairly isolated on a little pond, and my favorite thing to do there was catch toads. There were these cute little American toads all over, and the best time to catch them was at night. Usually I was out catching toads at night, and my parents or sister would be out with me, but on this particular night I was alone. I must have been out later than usual for some reason because I remember it was incredibly dark and it was starting to get chilly out. Normally I would be inside before the sun fully set, but for whatever reason on this night my parents didn't call me back in, so I just kept toad hunting. I also didn't have a flashlight, and the only light available was a floodlight on the side of the cabin. I was doing my thing when all of a sudden I was gripped with this intense fear. It was so strange how quickly it came on, like someone flipping a switch in my brain. One minute I was happily hunting toads, and the next I was paralyzed with fear, and my brain was telling me I was in danger. I remember standing very still, staring out at the forest tree line and realizing I couldn't see anything beyond the first row of trees, but I absolutely knew that something was watching me. I don't 100% remember what happened next, but I heard a sound. I want to say that it was a growl or a grunt, but I'm really not sure. I didn't stick around to find out. The second I heard it, I immediately booked it back to the cabin, rushed up the porch step and inside to safety. I didn't want to stick around and see what made the noise. My mom asked if I was all right, and I just said yeah and joined my family watching TV. I was a very imaginative kid and didn't think that they would believe me, or I thought my sister would make fun of me. I felt really weird after that, like this was the first time it dawned on me that I wasn't immortal and there was real danger in the world. As a kid, I definitely believed that there was some kind of monster in the woods that night, but as an adult, I realized that it was more likely an animal. I don't think there's mountain lions in New Hampshire, but there is the possibility that there could have been a coyote or a black bear by the cabin that night. I also doubt that I was being hunted by anything, but some primal part of my brain sensed something nearby and believed I was in danger. I'll never forget the paralyzing fear. It's what I imagine a deer or a rabbit must feel like when trying to determine if something is a threat. We went to that cabin a ton after that, and I never heard anything like that again, but also made sure to never be outside on my own again after the sun fully set. By the way, no toads were hurt during this story. My mom was very strict about me setting them free shortly after catching them. Allison, thank you for that side note. I love that. Your mom is a smart cookie, because it's okay then to not hurt them and catch them and just look at them and appreciate how beautiful and how cool the creature is, and then just let it go back out into the wilds. Okay, I did realize this video is kind of short, so I'm going to read one more story because I think we have time today. So here is story 6 for you guys, bonus. Hi, Hannah, it's human. Sorry, I know it's been done a million times, yes, but I never get sick of it. You can use my name, it's Megan. I love your channel and I watch you while I draw and play my little cozy games. Too long didn't read, we have a ghost who has some weird interests and is a raging nicotine addict. Sorry for the length, but you'll get that precious watch time. Thank you, Megan. So this isn't super scary, but it has freaked out my entire household for years. My husband, who is 25 male, and I, 26 female, live with my in-laws, his parents, his younger brother, 22 male, and his mother's friend, 35 female. Being as there are 6 people in this house and a lot of animals, we have to do laundry almost every day to keep it from piling up. Every single time someone does laundry, something is missing. This could be anything from a detachable bra strap to a sock to an entire shirt. We are all responsible for our own laundry, so we know nobody else is taking these items out of the washer or dryer. Once I had an entire delicates bag, the little mesh bag that zips up to prevent the washer or dryer from eating socks and undies, just vanish. Each person in the house has their own delicates bag, and we now only have 5 instead of 6, and mine has yet to be found. I miss the stuff that was in it. I have ripped apart the house looking for it. I actually purchased these bags myself because at first I thought the dryer or washer was eating stuff and it was getting stuck in parts of the machine. That's what I would have thought, and this immediately made me think of Halloween Town 2. Underrated movie. Let's be real. Not that Halloween Town 1 is the best, but Halloween Town 2, when the grumpy guy in Halloween Town, when everybody's turning gray in Halloween Town, and she goes to his house and all of the lost things from the town pile pile up in his house, and it's a lot of missing socks and stuff that he's sorting through.
You're right! We figured out how to break the gray spell, and now we can get our full powers back.
I love that movie. I love Halloween Town. That's just what it reminded me of. And it's appropriate because this is Halloween week. So appropriate clip / movie for this story. Anyway, okay. This just isn't the case, as we recently had to buy a new dryer and washer, and my father-in-law took apart the old machines to see if he could find any missing garments, and there was nothing except for a single sock. Even after I bought the bags, we have had things disappear out of the bag, which doesn't make sense to me, seeing as you have to unzip it to open it. My mother-in-law checked all the bags for holes or tears, and they were all intact. So things are just disappearing in a manner that doesn't make any sense to me logically. Maybe you have a little leprechaun or something in your house stealing stuff. This isn't the only instance of things disappearing. We have had lint rollers, decor pieces, food items, etc. just vanish. Every time we all interrogate each other and no one ever knows what happened to it. We don't have a reason to lie to each other because in our house, everything is considered communal unless we write our names on it. For example, no one would be mad if one of us borrowed the lint roller and forgot to put it back. Most recently, a couple of days ago, I went to Dollar General to get SpaghettiOs, and I had brought my vape pen with me. Don't judge, not judging. It's your life, your body. I have a very clear memory of putting it in my cup holder before going in, using it on the way home, and then setting it on the kitchen counter by the toaster oven while I nuked my food. I get back to the room with my food, sit down and eat, and then go to hit my vape, and I can't find it. I think, shit, I left it downstairs. I'm so dumb. So I get up, I grumpily go downstairs and look by the toaster oven. It's not there. I tend to be forgetful, so I assumed that I had moved it somewhere else. I looked everywhere I had been since getting home, nothing. I look in places where I hadn't been, nothing, obviously. I did this 3 times and still didn't find it. I was angry at this point, so I just went upstairs, told my husband that I was stealing his vape, and asked the house to be on the lookout for mine. The next day, my husband and I had to run errands, so he grabbed his vape back, rude, stuck it in his left pocket where he always puts his vape and wallet, and we headed out. When we got back, he sat down at his desk, took the vape out of his pocket, went to set it on the desk, and saw my vape. He called me over and said, "Is this your vape?" It was. We were both super confused because I had looked on his desk 3 times. Our room is upstairs and I have arthritis, so I tore apart the upstairs in hopes I wouldn't have to go down the stairs and have it hurt my knees. He remembers this too because he was playing the new Elder Ring DLC and was annoyed with me for checking his desk because I was distracting him and causing him to die. He just sucks at the game, but sure, bud, LOL. I hope your husband watches this too, so get better at the game. Person's husband. I don't play Elder Ring or anything like that, so I can't talk, but we still don't know what the heck happened here. We all just settled on the idea that we have a thief of a ghost haunting us and that the ghost felt bad about making me go up and down the stairs a million times and gave me my vape back to make up for it. Again, I love your channel and you're a bright spot in my day when you upload. Oh, thank you. I hope you have a great day. I love you so much. Thank you so much. I love this because it's a creepy ghost story, but it's also kind of lighthearted and funny at the same time. And thank you. Said your name was Megan. Thank you, Megan. That's a great story. The only logical explanation I can think of is that there is somebody in the house, since you said 6 people live there. Is it possible somebody in the house is secretly doing all these things, going into the dryer, taking pieces out, that maybe they like other people's stuff, taking pieces out and then putting it back in and then denying it tooth and nail when people confront them about it? Like, that's the only logical explanation, but I can't say that, of course, for sure, because I'm not there and I also don't know the people you live with, you know what I mean? And you would know if they would lie about something like that or not. I feel like you would certainly know that if that was the type of person to prank the rest of the household or not, especially if there's not a young kid in the house that also would be more inclined to like lie to not get in trouble. Then yeah, if that's not it, then that is so weird. And again, the laundry thing too can like maybe be explained by like if people dropped items on their way to their rooms and then it got shoved under a couch or something like that. But a whole garment bag and then the whole vape thing disappearing, but then literally like you know where you left it and it disappears and then reappears later is bizarro. So you either have a ghost or you have a gremlin or a leprechaun or some sort of entity in your house that is pranking y'all and having a lot of fun. If I was a ghost, though, honestly, I think I would do that too, because I'd be a nice ghost because I wouldn't want to scare anybody or I would want to haunt people, let's be real, but I wouldn't do anything mean, you know, or demonic. And I feel like that's the kind of stuff I would do too. Like just mess with people a little bit just for funsies. So, okay. Thank you so much for your story, Megan. Thank you for everyone who sent in stories. I appreciate you all so much. Please like the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, because this is the only type of video that we do here. And I will see you guys all tomorrow for day 6. Okay, bye.